On Mother's Day, 2018, Joleen Cummings vanished without a trace. A loved mother, hairstylist, and friend, this is the story of her disappearance and the shocking discovery that followed. For more videos like this, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Fernandina Beach, Florida, picturesque coastal town known for its warm breeze, historic charm, and tight-knit community. Here, everyone knows your name. It's the kind of place where life feels safe, predictable, and Joleen Cummings was someone everyone did know. A devoted mother of three, a passionate hairstylist at the local Tangles hair salon, and a woman who had just recently celebrated a big personal milestone, her 34th birthday, just 2 days before she vanished. May 13th, 2018, Mother's Day. It should have been a day of joy, of handmade cards and tight hugs from her children. But something went terribly wrong. That Sunday, Joleen worked a shift at the salon. According to coworkers and clients, everything seemed normal. She laughed, she chatted, she cut hair. Her shift ended in the afternoon, but after that, nothing. Joleen never came home. She never picked up her kids from her ex-husband's house that evening, as planned. By the next day, Joleen's family grew deeply concerned. Missing an appointment was unlike Herbert missing her children. Unthinkable. On May 14th, Joleen was officially reported missing. The Nassau County Sheriff's Office immediately launched a search, because from the beginning, something didn't feel right. Deputies, volunteers, and cadaver dogs combed the nearby area. Drones scanned the landscape, and the community, shaken to its core, held onto hope that she might return, that she might walk back through the doors of the salon or show up at a friend's house. Anything. Friends and loved ones organized vigils and prayer circles. They covered every corner of Nassau County with missing posters. The town refused to sit still. Then came the first major break. 3 days after she disappeared, police found Joleen's black Ford Expedition parked in a home depot parking lot just a few miles from the salon. The vehicle was abandoned. Unlocked, her belongings were inside, but Joleen was not. When police pulled the security footage from the store, what they saw raised even more questions. A woman dressed in black was seen exiting Joleen's SUV and walking away, but it wasn't Joleen, it was someone else entirely. Sheriff Bill Leeper told reporters they were now treating the case as a homicide investigation. Though no body had been found, authorities were certain something terrible had happened to Joleen. She had plans of future. She was getting her life back on track. And most importantly, she never ever would have left her children behind. Hundreds of tips poured in. Volunteers searched miles of forest and fields. The FBI joined the effort. Still, the days turned into weeks, and there was no trace of Joleen, no answers, no peace. Her mother, Ann Johnson, spoke to the public with heartbreaking clarity. "My daughter didn't just disappear, someone took her from us." The woman behind the scissors was missing, and the salon, once filled with laughter and life, sat silent. What happened behind those walls would soon be revealed, and the truth would horrify the entire community. As investigators dug deeper into Joleen's disappearance, their attention turned to where she was last seen alive. Tangles Hair Salon, the small, vibrant shop, was more than just her workplace. It was her second home. And on that Mother's Day weekend, someone else had been working alongside her. That someone was a co-worker named Jennifer Seabbert, a relatively new hire at the salon, quiet, private. Didn't really mingle with the rest of the staff. She'd only been working there for a few weeks. Police soon realized she was the last known person to see Joleen alive. And then came the chilling footage. The woman spotted leaving Joleen's SUV at the Home Depot wasn't Joleen, it was Jennifer Seabbert. She parked the vehicle calmly, stepped out, and walked away, disappearing into the night. The SUV had been wiped down, but not well enough. Investigators found fingerprints and surveillance from nearby stores would later track Jennifer purchasing cleaning supplies, gloves, and an electric carving knife, all within hours of Joleen's disappearance. She bought ammonia trash bags, paper towels, and she wasn't in a panic. She was deliberate, focused. like she had planned it. But then came the twist that would unravel everything. Jennifer Seabbert didn't exist. She was using a stolen identity. The real Jennifer Seabbert had died in 1987 in Pennsylvania. The woman working under that name was actually Kimberly Kessler, a 50-year-old drifter who had been living under at least 18 different aliases across more than a dozen states for over 2 decades. She'd been hiding in plain sight. Kimberly had moved constantly, always changing names, changing appearances, and avoiding any paper trail. And no one, not her clients, not her co-workers, suspected a thing. When police finally tracked her down, she was living out of her car. Inside, they found wigs, disguises, multiple cell phones, and weapons, including a knife under her seat. She was arrested and charged with grand theft auto for stealing Joleens' SUV. But that was only the beginning. Forensics teams returned to Tangle's hair salon. Using luminol, they uncovered what no one could have imagined. Blood everywhere, on the walls, on the counter, on the baseboards, on the sink. DNA tests confirmed it was Joleen Cummings' blood, so much of it, investigators knew she couldn't have survived. And then came the search history on Kimberly's phone. Investigators found hundreds of searches in the days before and after Joleens' disappearance. Some of the most chilling included coworker guilty of murder, missing person, no body. Can a person be convicted without a body? How to get away with murder? She refused to cooperate, refused to speak during her time in jail. She acted out violently, throwing feces at officers, starving herself, and being repeatedly placed in solitary confinement. Some questioned if she was mentally ill, others believed it was just another calculated act. With no body and no confession, investigators were left to build a case on what they did have: a mountain of circumstantial evidence, a stolen identity, a suspicious coworker, and a grieving family desperate for justice. And while Kimberly Kessler sat in a jail cell refusing to speak, Joleens' family waited, the community waited, and the nation began to ask, who was Kimberly Kessler, and what drove her to take the life of a mother, a daughter, a friend? When investigators discovered that the woman calling herself Jennifer Seabbert had stolen the identity of a dead child from Pennsylvania, the case against her went from disturbing to utterly chilling, because now they weren't just dealing with a murder suspect, they were dealing with the ghost. Her real name was Kimberly Kessler, born in Butler, Pennsylvania. In 1968, she vanished from her hometown. In 2004, without a trace, not because she was missing, but because she chose to disappear. On purpose, over the next 14 years, Kimberly would use at least 18 different names and live in more than 30 locations across the country. In her hometown, people remembered Kimberly as quiet, withdrawn, and strange. But no one expected her to become a fugitive. Her own mother would later say she hadn't seen or spoken to her daughter in more than a decade, and she had no idea where she'd gone. She found the name Jennifer Seabbert in a graveyard, literally a child who had died in 1987, buried in a Pennsylvania cemetery. Kimberly stole her identity, applied for a driver's license in her name, and began her life as someone else. But Jennifer Seabbert wasn't her only identity. She had used names like Melissa Martinez, Pamela Kleber, Melanie Slater, Kimberly Schmeier, and many more. She often posed as hairstylists, nannies, or workers in small towns, taking jobs that required minimal background checks. She never stayed in one place long. When people started asking too many questions, she vanished again. When authorities arrested her at a rest stop in St. Johns County, Florida, she was living out of her car. What they found inside looked like the belongings of someone living 2 or 3 lives at once. Multiple IDs, prepaid phones, disguises, knives, gloves, bleach, and handwritten notes about co-workers at Tangle's hair salon. And then there was her behavior in jail. From the moment she was taken into custody, Kimberly became increasingly erratic. She refused to eat smeared feces on the walls of her cell and reportedly banged her head against the bars. She was declared mentally unfit to stand trial multiple times, before eventually being restored through forced medication. In court, she often refused to speak. At one hearing, she wore a spit mask and had to be wheeled in on a restraint chair. At another, she shouted that her public defenders were part of a conspiracy and claimed the FBI was trying to kill her. At one point, she even yelled, "Joleen is not dead," despite overwhelming evidence. But the facts were undeniable. Joleen's blood was everywhere in the salon. Kimberly had been seen cleaning obsessively, taking out heavy trash bags, and purchasing suspicious items on security footage. Her internet search history, over 400 queries about hiding bodies, avoiding conviction, and cleaning crime scenes, painted a damning picture. She was calculating this wasn't an accident. She planned this. She knew exactly what she was doing and how to vanish afterward. Kimberly Kessler had lived her life in the shadows, reinventing herself again and again. But in Joleen Cummings, she may have seen a threat or a mirror, another woman, another hairstylist, another life she couldn't control, and instead of walking away this time, she didn't run, she removed the obstacle. She wasn't just a suspect anymore. She was a pathological liar, a master manipulator, and a woman capable of building an entire life on stolen names. Until one day, it all unraveled, and an innocent mother paid the price. The investigation into Joleen Cummings' disappearance took a decisive turn once authorities turned their attention to the place she was last seen, the Tangles hair salon. To the naked eye, everything looked normal. No broken glass, no signs of forced entry, no screaming heard by neighboring businesses. But what forensic teams found beneath the surface revealed a nightmare. Using luminol chemical that reacts to traces of blood, investigators uncovered a scene of unthinkable violence. Blood was found spattered and smeared across the walls, pooled behind cabinets, soaked into the grout between the floor tiles. There was blood on the shears, on the trash can, on the sink, even behind the shampoo. Bold places where blood couldn't have ended up by accident. DNA analysis confirmed it belonged to Joleen Cummings. The volume of blood loss was so severe, experts testified that no one could have survived such trauma. Surveillance footage showed Kimberly Kessler wheeling large trash bags out the back door of the salon late that night. In one clip, she appeared to struggle with the weight of what she was carrying. She returned multiple times over the course of hours, always alone, always looking over her shoulder. Earlier that night, she had also been seen on video making calculated purchases, bleach gloves, an electric carving knife. These weren't impulse buys. These were tools of cleanup, or something much worse. And then came the most chilling discovery yet. Her search history coworker, missing no body, can police convict how to clean blood from tile? How long before a missing person is considered dead? How to keep flies away from a body? She wasn't panicking, she was studying. Based on the timeline, investigators believe Kimberly may have dismembered Joleen's body in the salon, placed her remains into heavy-duty garbage bags, and disposed of them at a commercial landfill, despite extensive searches. No remains were ever recovered. We believe she used a dumpster behind the salon. That load was picked up early the next morning and taken to the landfill. From there, it was gone, just gone. All of this, every receipt, every stain, every search, became part of the case. Against Kimberly Kessler, even without a body, prosecutors had built a story, one piece at a time. Joleen didn't just vanish, she was murdered in cold blood in the very place she worked. Joleen's family sat through every gruesome detail. No remains, no final goodbye, just blood and a monster behind a fake name. While Kimberly remained silent, investigators kept uncovering more. The evidence told the story she wouldn't. And though Joleen's voice had been stolen forever, the truth was finally beginning to speak. The disappearance of Joleen Cummings had shaken an entire community. But in the absence of a body, many wondered, would there ever be justice? In Florida, prosecutors can try someone for murder without a body. But it's rare and difficult. What they needed was enough circumstantial evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Joleen wasn't just missing. She was gone, and Kimberly Kessler was the reason. In 2019, Kimberly was formally indicted for the first-degree murder of Joleen Cummings. But the trial didn't begin right away, because for more than 2 years, Kimberly Kessler did everything she could to avoid it. Inside jail, her behavior spiraled. She screamed, starved herself, and smeared feces on the walls of her cell. At one point, she was so combative, she had to be fitted with a spit hood and strapped to a wheelchair just to enter the courtroom. She accused her public defenders of working for the KKK. She said the FBI was trying to kill her, and she claimed that Joleen Cummings was alive, hiding and part of a setup to destroy her. In 2020, the judge ruled her mentally unfit to stand trial and committed her to a psychiatric facility. For nearly a year, she was force-fed and medicated until she was declared competent again. On December 6, 2021, over 3.5 years after, Joleen vanished trial finally began. Kimberly Kessler showed little emotion as prosecutors laid out their case, a massive blood trail inside the salon. Surveillance footage of Kessler cleaning and disposing of heavy bags, a phone filled with violent search queries, a stolen identity, and a history of running. The defense had one argument that there was no body and no murder weapon. They claimed there was no proof Joleen was dead. But prosecutors had anticipated this. There is no doubt Joleen Cummings is dead, and there is no doubt Kimberly Kessler killed her. The only mystery that remains is what she did with the body. Joleen's family sat through every day of testimony, listening, waiting, hoping. After just a few hours of deliberation, the jury returned the verdict was swift and unanimous. Guilty first-degree murder. Kessler showed no emotion as the verdict was read, but outside the courtroom, the emotion poured out. Joleen's mother wept in relief after years of silence. Her daughter finally had a voice in court. On January 27, 2022, Kimberly Kessler was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. You are a killer, and you will spend the rest of your life alone just as you lived it. Though justice was served, one devastating truth remains. Joleen's body has never been found. Her children still have no place to visit, no grave to bring flowers to, no final goodbye. She was a beautiful person, and she didn't deserve this. My heart is broken, but at least now we know someone will pay for what they did. The trial may be over, but the pain lives on, and the question still lingers. Why did Kimberly Kessler target Joleen? Was it jealousy, rage, or simply because Joleen had something she never could, a real life? Even after a guilty verdict and a life sentence, the story of Joleen Cummings wasn't over. For her family, the nightmare hadn't ended, it had simply changed. Joleen left behind 3 young children who now grow up without a mother, without answers, and without the closure of a body to lay to rest. She was stolen from us. My grandchildren ask where their mommy is, and I have to say, we still don't know. Across Fernandina Beach, reminders of Joleen's life and her loss still remain. The town grieved together, and in that grief they found a quiet strength. After sentencing, Kimberly Kessler was transferred to a maximum security facility for women in Florida. She remains on suicide watch and is closely monitored due to her violent outbursts and history of suffering. Even behind bars, Kessler continues to show signs of instability. She's been reported to scream through the night and refuses interaction with other inmates. In 2024, Kessler's attorneys filed a formal appeal claiming she was mentally incompetent at the time of trial and that her erratic behavior had prejudiced the jury. These types of appeals are common in cases with severe mental health elements, but they rarely succeed, especially with the mountain of evidence the state had. In July 2025, the appeal was officially denied. The court ruled that Kessler had been properly evaluated and found fit to stand trial. Her conviction and life sentence would stand. Joleen's story sparked more than headlines. It led to renewed conversations about domestic violence, mental health awareness, and the dangers of stolen identity. Her friends and family turned their grief into action. They organized fundraisers, started support groups, and fought for greater protections for women working alone. And though they may never get the reunion they prayed for, Joleen's children will always know their mother mattered. Her light hasn't gone out. Tits simply moved on. Kimberly Kessler tried to erase Joleen Cummings, but instead, she made her unforgettable. In a case built on silence, the truth still found a way to speak. This is more than a true crime story. It's a reminder that no one disappears without a trace, and no life is ever too small to leave a legacy. What true crime case has stuck with you or kept you up at night? Let us know in the comments. Your suggestion might be featured in an upcoming episode.